Welcome. On today's episode of Diagnostic Guru, we have the privilege to speak with Shayla Rivera. It is impossible to go through Shayla's entire portfolio briefly. Shayla has worn many hats. Shayla was born in Puerto Rico, studied at Texas A&M as an aerospace engineer, and worked at NASA as a former rocket scientist with quite the unconventional trajectory from there. Just the story we love to digest here at Diagnostic Guru. Following 6 years at NASA, Shayla turned into a salesperson, a corporate trainer, and is now an international keynote speaker, TEDx speaker, TV and radio host, an MC host, a comedian, so we'll have a lot of laughter today, an actor, a writer, a producer, a seminar facilitator, a panel moderator, and since 2017, she's the director of the Engineer X program and professor of practice with the College of Engineering at her alma mater, Texas A&M University. Where can we go wrong in this conversation today and speaking with you, Shayla, and dig into each layer of who she is? Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I love to hear all that and go, boy, I'm tired just thinking about it.
I know. I was like, when does she have time? And you're a mother. We didn't even talk about that,
That too. Yeah.
which is a whole other
That's all
career.
women, isn't it?
One thing I find very interesting, it's almost poignant that we're talking today because all that's going on in the press, around the all-women space flight on Blue Origin's New Shepard that traveled 62 miles from Earth and they touched the Kármán line. Love to know what that is. But really would love to know your thoughts around like all of this because I see there's a lot of good press and bad press about this achievement and how have you been sort of pulled into the swirl of it?
You have to either ask the aerospace engineer or you have to ask the comedian because I can really write a whole bit about all women in space. Oh, it would be so much fun. But I think it is one of those things that we have to do to bring awareness to the fact that women ought to step on to the stage of, space and the stage of science and the stage of engineering. And sometimes this is what it takes. I mean, we sit here as women that have been out there for a while. I've been out there a lot longer than you, but that's okay. Um, and we say, well, do we really need to do this? Well, we do. I think we do because it brings awareness to the young generation that gets gets them excited. And I think that's what it's about. We get them excited and they will step on there. And then with our help and guidance, they will make it through and become the astronauts of the future and the scientists of the future and the Nobel Prize winners of the future. And what else can I say? Just the future in general.
Sometimes we have to make things look sexier than they are so that people are interested in it. Because once they're in there and they realize how hard it is, we want them to stick it through.
So true. Yes, it's true. I
Um,
mean, especially for us when we've had not young women who may not have had, the background at home or, just didn't have access to a whole lot of information and really don't have a mentor or some example. It's good to have these things out there. I mean, we can be cynical about it and criticize, but if it gets two or three girls excited, I'm down for
I couldn't agree more. So
it.
with that, in your background, we just did a brief snapshot of all the different categories that you worked in or an expert at. Could you pick out of that what is one of the most proud, poignant, or career, decisions or pinnacles that happened to you during your career to date?
Wow. So I count many things as pinnacles.
Okay.
I mean, why not, right? I mean, they're my
Mhm.
pinnacle. So, well, that when I was 17, one of the greatest pinnacles for me was to decide that I wasn't going to be afraid, that I was going to step on to college. I mean, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. So when I came to Texas, I didn't speak the language, and I don't mean English, I mean like Texan. No, I didn't speak English. I didn't really have a mastery of the English language. So I was very afraid. And there was a moment in my life where I decided I wasn't going to live afraid of a language. And that kind of yielded that quantum leap of 5 months later, I find myself speaking English to a professor and I go, oh, wow, so I mastered this. I can probably do anything. And then I thought, well, if I can do that, then anybody can do that as well. So it kind of, for me, that was just absolutely life transforming. I graduated with aerospace, and that to me, I've been excited about everything I've done. I'm like an idiot. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an aerospace engineer. And then I went and I worked for NASA and I did this, space shuttle and space station and even Apache helicopter and all that. For me, to everything that I call them stages, every place I was at, I was just like excited by
Mm.
the newness of it, by the growing, by the not knowing. I just really was eager to learn. So that has been the guiding thing for me. Just I'm really interested in learning new stuff. And there's so much new stuff out there. And, that's technical. And then if you start thinking about personal and psychology and stuff like that, forget about it. It's just there's a plethora of amazingness out there. And I'm just excited about all of it. And the attitude is, I don't know right now, but just I can learn, right?
What a
So
great
yeah.
attitude. The curiosity in you is still, you can still see it and still feel it. So that's why you're always, are you a person that gets bored easily?
I get bored? I do. And when I
Yeah.
get bored, I'm done with something, which is probably why I have made the different shifts in my career. It wasn't that I was bored with aerospace per se. I felt like, okay, this is going to be much of the same going forward.
Mm.
So I moved into sales and that was more of the people. So it's more, I went from transactional. Transactional doesn't work for me too long. Relational works for
Extrovert.
me.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was so I was very relational in sales, right? And then in corporate trainings, that was something that was more, it wasn't sales because I wasn't selling you something. I was
Mhm.
exposing you to perhaps a new way of thinking, which is still sales. Um, and then from there, motivational and inspirational speaking, stand-up comedy, and of course, now I'm a professor.
I should reframe the question and say, I think you have such a high intelligence that you get to a point where you feel like you've probably figured it all out and you're not status quo. So you want to learn something new. And that's the curiosity in you, is
That's it.
probably
And
a
the
better
challenge,
way to stay it.
and very challenge driven. So it's like,
Yeah.
but you have to be careful when you're challenge driven like me and not to say, well, I'm just gonna leave because of the way you feel or whatever. You have to make sure that if you move on to something new, it's because you really um feel like you have mastered whatever you need to master first, you know.
Yes, that's a great advice for all those that are listening. So let's take it back a little bit to NASA and give us some, you know, give us an imagery of what it was like being a young woman engineer, rocket scientist at NASA. I'm sure you were probably didn't have a lot of you around.
Well, what's funny is when I was going to school here at NMI, the other girl, there was two girls in my class, and there was a girl behind me in my class. I think we had 106 students. Now we have thousands of students in aerospace.
Hmm.
But it was really, wow, it was all exciting all of the time, for me. I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying it was a walk in the park. It was just exciting. Again, the challenge of the thing. And then, getting into NASA was very cool. I mean, the shuttle, this was January of 1984. So we were really, the shuttle program was the coolest thing. Now it's just like it's a hoopty. The shuttle is kind of like an old tool, but back then it was really amazing. And the thing about that, which was really interesting to me, was when I left school. I mean, you got to understand, when I went to school, computers were not really a thing. That's
Hmm.
how old I am. So when I got to NASA, I remember saying to God, please, whatever I end up in, no computers. Anyway, so of course, I went straight into computing and developing simulation software and tracking trajectory. So I went into the ET and SRB disposal task, which nobody knew what it was. I didn't know what it was. So the external tank, solid rocket boosters, my task of it, the engineering task I was in. So when the solid rocket boosters, which we were going to use again, would,
Mhm.
separate, they would fall onto the ocean, and my task would plot the footprint in the ocean where the Navy could go pick them up so they can be taken back to
Mm.
Utah, so then they could be brought back to Florida. I mean, not necessarily the most efficient way to do all that, but that's the way that we were doing it. So that was really cool. And then the external tank just goes into a decaying orbit, and we would detonate it according to where the footprint was that we wanted the debris to fall. So it's kind of the internal engineering, I would
Mhm.
say, stuff that it's not like the cool stuff that people can see, but it's the stuff that makes the missions work. And then I went on to designing ascent and entry
Yeah.
simulation software for mission control. So, I mean, it just sounds weird to me right now, but it was so much fun, and the people were so they were helpful. Yeah, not many women, no, not many Puerto Ricans, no, no. Um, but I never saw myself as anything other than an engineer. So
Mm.
I just
Good
didn't
for
know
you.
what I didn't know. Yeah, that was good for me. I see that now.
I love that you don't genderfy it. I do that all the time. Like, why can't I just say I'm a scientist? Why do I have to say I'm a woman scientist? You know?
Because we've been taught, I think we've been taught that is the whole
Yeah.
idea of engineering being a male-dominated environment. And I tell the girls, and I mean, we have a college with over 25,000 students in engineering here, and they are still apprehensive and afraid. And, I'm like, look, it's not a male-dominated environment, it's male majority. That's all.
Hmm.
And that's changing. So what you need to do is make sure you start seeing yourself now as just an engineer, not just as, but an engineer. And because if you see that, then they going to have to see that. They're going to have to recognize that. So that's, I think, the area we are in right now. That's exciting for me too, because I do see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, yeah, you're definitely an example that it can be done. I love that advice, though. Like, if you show up as what you feel and how you perceive yourself, then others will perceive you that way as well, right? It's a powerful thing for people to really learn to do. Well, let's talk a little bit about after NASA. You went into a lot of leadership roles, a motivational speaker, a corporate trainer. And then during that time, you decided, I think around that time, you decided to become a stand-up comedian. Can you talk, how did that come about and what did that do for you, like, for your
Oh,
soul and for yourself internally to take on that challenge?
well, it's kind of what we're talking about, Leslie, here is what? Our story, right? So it's a
Mhm.
story. So the thing is, we think that we go from one thing and then the next and the next, but no, it's a mess. It's a lot of little decisions, a lot of, oh my gosh, a lot of whatevers, right? Um, so what I did was I went into sales. I love sales, and that exposed me to motivational speakers. And I saw Zig Ziglar, and Zig Ziglar blew my mind. And I realized the power that words have to impact, to make a difference. Maybe because I was really paying attention to language, because I still was thinking in Spanish perhaps, or whatever. The thing is that I understood that the way you say something, or the words you choose to use, or the tone and all that, makes a huge difference in reaching someone's, I don't know, brain, soul. It really does. So I was blown away by that. And then I was blown away by the fact that I realized, wait, we all have that power of using words for, for impact. We just don't do it on purpose. And, so the thing is, words are, well, they're very important. They're paramount out there to kind of listen to how you describe yourself, or listen how you describe something else. Listen how, the words that are coming out of your mouth. I joke around that I have a friend here that I work with at A&M and who's a vegan. And if you're a vegan, God bless you, I just like cow. But the thing is, he's militant and he takes your lunch and he orders. And then, then you go order and he starts talking and saying all these things. And finally, I said one day, isn't it interesting you care so much about what goes into your mouth, but you don't care about what comes out? And he went like, oh, that's a good one. But we're all like that, Leslie. We care much more about what we put in our mouth than what comes out. And what the power that we have is in that. The power is in the words that we're using. You're using this platform here to reach people. I mean, it's so needed right now. And if we just paid a little more attention, right?
Yes.
And I tell my students, just maybe make yourself say something more elegantly, a little more polished, be a little more polished in your delivery, whatever. Just try, and you'll see it changes the way you think as well as it changes the way you feel. So yeah, words, people, palabras, intangible. Let's use them for the good.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's definitely that's one of the things that I find is a challenge in the workplace. Like, why do we have to talk to each other like that? Why do we have to use that tone? Why I even show when I go to the grocery store and you literally just say to the person who's checking out, "Hi, how are you doing today?" Their whole demeanor just like changes, right? How you approach people, how you talk to people. And we're losing sight of that with all of the technology today, right? Like, I mean, here you and I are on Zoom, you in
Yeah.
Texas, me in New York, but if we live near each other, I would definitely meet you for coffee.
We would hang out, definitely. I
Yeah.
think we need to do more of that. It's a
Yes.
pendulum, Leslie's coming back. I mean, we done swung all the way to the disconnection. We're just using technology, but it's just not sustainable.
Let's sort of bring us full circle where you are today. You started your own company. I love the name, Funny Rocket Scientist. It's you in a nutshell. Can you tell us how you came about this name or why you chose it not to go the more? Now, after talking to you and meeting you, I can kind of understand the answer, but why did you go the traditional route like everybody else?
Because if there's one thing I'm not is traditional. I'll
Yeah.
say that. Well, no, I was doing stress management trainings and I was also doing motivational speaking and workshops. And people would come to me and say, you should be a comedian. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to be enlightening. Stupid. What's wrong with you? I was very offended anytime anybody said, but I heard it so many times that I finally tried it. And, I started doing comedy in 1993. So I'm about to be an overnight sensation. That's what I like to say. But the thing is that's what I was. The hook in comedy, you always need a hook, right? So
Mhm.
I was the funny rocket scientist, the funny rocket scientist. So that's the name of my company. And so it stayed that way because and I do workshops, keynotes, I do stand up, I do whatever, but I just really liked it. Is Funny Rocket Scientist Inc. That's me.
Nice.
But yeah, that's why.
Well, it's very unique, one in a million, I would say for sure. So, looking back on yourself as a young girl, did you expect to see yourself where you are today, or what were your aspirations then?
Oh no, I can't say that I did. Wow. As a girl, all I wanted was to feel comfortable in my own skin. Very
Mm,
self-conscious, I just wanted to be cool with the cool people. I wanted to be liked. I wanted all of these things. So for me, it's been in pursuit of peace, right? Just peace. I want peace, which is, I just want to feel okay. I'm okay. Um, so I did see myself in college going in technical field. Definitely. I've always been a geek that way. I love being a geek, so don't take it the wrong way. Um, and but past beyond that, I the reason I'm here is because I kind of listened to myself. Those moments where your heart goes, hey, how about this? Or, oh, I really like that. Or, wow, I'm really drawn to this. I always have journaled. I've always kind of been curious as to what intrigues me,
mm.
always. So that's probably why I have taken all of the steps that I've taken. I mean, if you could talk to my family, they'll tell you she's crazy, right? Of course. If you talk to, but now actually it just really points at the truth of how life is. Because when I was a kid and they asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? You say doctor, lawyer, or engineer. But nowadays, the question is, what are you going to be first? What are you going to do first? Don't know. There's so much out there that we can learn and so many things that we can choose, and we don't have to choose it all at once and get or only do one thing. Which is I think what's most the fear of students is that well, if I choose this, I'm going to do this forever. You may, but you will also bring some things in, some other things in. Maybe you'll have a podcast and reach out to people. So yeah, the possibilities are out there. Just be willing to not just take the step. Don't be
Mm.
too afraid.
Don't be too hard on yourself, right?
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh. Yeah. That took me forever.
I know. Well, it all comes with age, right? As we
Yeah.
age gracefully. Well, I think that's great advice. And if we could continue on that vein, maybe share with some of the girls or women who will be listening in, what do you see as some of the biggest hurdles that you've touched upon it a little bit as a teacher and a professor at the university? But what are those hurdles as women who are trying to come into STEM or science today? Is it similar to what you experienced, or are there some new challenges that I'm not aware of?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's something we grapple with. I just talked to two students today who want to do a podcast.
Send them my way.
Yes, I'm gonna send them your way. So it's the same. I think it's very much the same. And the reason it's very much the same fears of male-dominated environment, and it's hard, and women will you'll just quit, and why study this when you're just gonna have kids one day? What? And the reason it's still there is because we keep repeating this thing because we haven't given them other examples. There's a way to do both. And I'm not doing aerospace engineering now, but I am an aerospace engineer, and you can't take that away from me. And I love science, and I will always continue to love science and engineering. But the thing is that we're still like stuck back in the day when it comes to, girls believing that what if I get this question, what if I get a job and then I go into a meeting and somebody treats me like they make me get coffee or something. Okay. So, you know, that may not happen anymore. I'm sure it happens. There's some crusty old people out there that might do that. But what we need to do now, what I'm doing is I want to empower them. I want to give them the tools they need. If you find yourself in that situation, what do you do? Because you might. Um, you just say, well, I'll get you coffee now, but that's not really in my job description. So next time you give me coffee, all right? Because it's kind of inappropriate to ask me to do that. And if you do that, they will go, oh, and they won't do it again. And not everybody needs that. And sometimes you just go get coffee because you're, a colleague. But the thing is, the fear of being treated like you are less than is going to, for sure, help you see that. It's that observer effect, is that, quantum physics observer. You are affecting the results of your experiment. If you see yourself as an engineer, if you see yourself as a equal, or, if you see the level playing field, because sometimes you have a leader and whatever, I get it. But if you see yourself as I'm part of this team at the level of science and technology and all that, they will treat you that way. If they don't, then you don't want to work there. You want to move on. Don't try to change them. Just get out. Get the job first and then quit. But you know what I'm saying.
What would you say this, because this is sort of the premise of this podcast. What I would love for you to, it doesn't have, it could be personal or business, but one good, one bad, and one ugly, going through your career journey to date.
One good, let's see. Good is, I met so many fun people. Left brain people are fun people for sure. Um, and and that's always been good. I don't know why I always find people who make me laugh. I
Mm,
love that.
yeah.
Um, Bad, it's some people that take themselves too seriously, for sure,
Mm.
for sure. And that you have to kind of like purse it up and, be like scared. Ugly, uh, ugly would be that I've had to come to accept that there are some bad apples out there,
Mm.
that there are some what's the word, misogynist still out there, that there's still that no matter, that sometimes it doesn't matter how you show up and you're leaning in and you're doing all that stuff, there is some crusty folk that will just make you go, wow, is this really still a thing? So that's the ugly part. But it's a dying breed. We just need to keep moving forward and just have fun. Just have fun in your work and in your life. Balance it out with laughter, always.
Love that. I want a t-shirt now that says the left brain are fun. Us introverts can be extroverts and be fun, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, well, sadly, we're coming to a close. I like to end all of my conversations. I mean, you have many superpowers. I mean, it's incredible what you've achieved thus far. But if you could choose one out of all of those superpowers, which one do you think it would be?
Let's see. What superpower would I choose? I would have to say, may not make sense, but my superpower would be um, irreverence.
Mm,
Meaning I approach very serious things and I have this irreverent thing always. I don't take, nothing is terminal, nothing is, the end all be all. So I have a lot of that, but I'm very respectful at the same time. Hence the comedy. Yeah, so maybe it would be that. It would be that irreverence that I carry with me. I don't always, you got to know when to bring it out, but that would be it. Yeah.
awesome. An irreverent rocket scientist.
Irreverent rocket science. There you go. New company.
And yeah, there's our next t-shirt.
Yeah, the t-shirt. We're gonna make a lot of money.
I know maybe I'll start making t-shirts of everyone's superpowers as part of the diagnostic guru.
I think that's a great business idea.
Well,
Yeah, it's
thank you,
been
Shayla.
lovely. Thank you very much. Just go
You're
laugh.
welcome. Thanks. I will keep it real. Have a good
Keep it
day.
real.
Yeah, keep it real.